Okay, so the next PCS guideline we're going to do is overlapping body layers, and that is guideline B3.5. And what that states is, if the root operations excision, repair, or inspection are performed on overlapping layers of the musculoskeletal system, the body part specifying the deepest layer is coded. So that means you're going to code only to the deepest layer because you've got to go through all those other layers to get to that point, right? So why are you going to code those? So the example we're going to use is open debridement of the subcutaneous tissue and brachioradialis muscle, right? All right. So let's start with what our intent of procedure is, which is debridement of sub-Q and muscle. Okay? So now we've got to figure out what our root operation is. Well, what is our root operation? When we're debriding tissue, we're actually removing part of it, correct? So if we look, we are actually cutting out or off without replacement a portion of a body part. That's what we're doing, isn't it? We're excising part of it and we're not putting it back. So our root operation is going to be B, excision. Okay? Now, our major body system, let's get out our listing here. Now, a lot of people are going to want to jump directly to either skin and breast or subcutaneous tissue and fascia. However, what was the deepest that we went? Open debridement of the subcutaneous tissue and brachioradialis muscle, right. The deepest tissue we went to was the muscle. Therefore, our body system is going to be muscles, which is then going to give us a value of K. All right? All right? Then we've got our minor body part, which is going to be what? Well, it's going to be our brachioradialis muscle. However, do we know what that is? So let's see if we can take a peek at it, just so that we know where it's located. Let's see if we've got it here. All right, so let's look on page 214 here. Okay. So here we go. All right. This is the front view of the muscles of the shoulder. All right. So let's see what we can find here. And right here is the brachioradialis muscle. Okay. We'll zoom in on that a little bit for you. Okay. So right here is the brachioradialis muscle, and that aids in flexion of the forearm, especially when it's already partly flexed. So if this is the shoulder, this is the upper arm. So this comes down, right? We need to think about it's probably part of that upper arm, isn't it? Well, let's take another look here, see if we can find another one, because it could be one that moves down. Let's see if we can find another image of it here that might help us out a little bit more. And sometimes that's what you've got to do. Sometimes you have to do that. Okay? So let's see. I'm not seeing any. Here we go. Here's some more information about it. Brachioradialis, this is a muscle which runs from the outer part of the humerus, just above the elbow, down to the outside of the lower end of the radius. So it's actually running down the arm. It's attached onto the humerus, but then it runs down the side of the radius. It acts to pull the forearm back to the position of rest, midway between pronation and supination. So supination is when you're palmed up, pronation is when you're palmed down. So it helps with that turning, okay? If the forearm is fully pronated, it will act as a supinator. If fully supinated, it will act as a pronator. So that is one of the muscles that helps us turn our arms, our forearm. All right, so now that we know that, okay, it is the brachioradialis, right, okay, and I'm just going to put here forearm along radius from humerus, because you might need some additional information when we get in there, okay? All right, so now what is our approach? Well, it tells us right there, it's an open debridement. So our approach is open. Device, it doesn't say anything about a device, so Z, and we don't know yet about a qualifier. So what it sounds to me like we're going to have is 0 KB, and we're going to have Z here as our other piece. So let's, as our 6th character. So let's go ahead and get out our book. See what we can come up with. So we're going to go to excision. Okay. And what are we excising again? How far did we go? We are excising tissue, but what kind of tissue? We're excising muscular tissue. So we want to look at excising muscle, right? So let's say muscle. Okay. So here we are at excision. Okay. And we're going to go down to muscle here. Okay. Here we are, excision muscle. Now let's start looking, because we know that it is the brachioradialis, and because we looked it up and we read about it and we know what the brachioradialis is, it runs along the forearm. It's on the forearm that runs along the radius that's attached up at the humerus and runs down and wraps around. So we know that it is part of the arm. We know it's part of the lower arm, correct? So let's look. Muscle, lower arm and wrist. That gives us right, which is what we have, 0KB9. So let's take a peek at 0KB9. Let's look at that table. Okay. Zero KB right here. And we have, what do we have here? Okay. We have 0 KB, and 9 is lower arm and wrist muscle right. Is that what we have? Lower arm and wrist muscle, right? Yes, it is. 9. We have an open procedure, so we have 0. We have no device, and this is not a diagnostic procedure, so we don't have a qualifier. So the correct code for the debridement of the subcutaneous tissue and muscle of the brachioradialis right arm is 0KB90ZZ. That one really demonstrated how important it is to be sure that you know exactly where something is located. All right? All right, see you on the flip side.